G'day and welcome to Inside Rugby. My name is Mark. I'm a Kiwi rugby fan living here in beautiful Cancun in Mexico. And I started this channel a few weeks ago to share my passion of the game of rugby. And after the Rugby World Cup, I'm going to continue the channel doing all sorts of things about rugby across the world. So stick around, hit the subscribe button. And also, if you like this particular video, give it a thumbs up as well. Now, I've been watching all the games from the Rugby World Cup and there's been some fantastic games, that's for sure, particularly over this last weekend as well, starting off with the All Blacks' great demolition of Italy right through until the South African game against Tonga yesterday. And what I've decided to do in this video is have a little bit of fun and put together the top 10 players that I felt were the best over the weekend, and I'm sure you've got a different view on a lot of them, so why don't you share those in the comments with me, or if you agree with me on some of the players I've selected in this particular video. Now, I'm not going to rank these players 1 to 10, I'm just going to share them randomly and give a little bit of an explanation on why I think they deserve to be in the top 10 players from last weekend's play. So here we go, let's get started on the list. So as I said, just a random list here. So let's start off with the first one, and the first player that I really enjoyed watching this weekend was Rodrigo Fernandez, playing for Chile against Argentina. He plays at fly half, he's a very good fly half, and I'm sure with a lot more international experience he's going to be a really good player. Fernandez, he did a lot of good things against Argentina despite Chile losing this game considerably, and I just like the way he plays in both attacking and in defensive structures. He's very good in defensive. If you actually watch him in the game, he's one of the last defenders on the line for the Chilean team, and he's very quick around the pitch as well. He can score a try from anywhere. He didn't get one in this game in the weekend, but he had a very good game despite being on the losing team. So my first player in my list of top 10 players from last weekend's games is Rodrigo Fernandez from Chile. So the next player on my list is that giant of a man that we all love from Tonga, Ben Tamuna. And Ben is the captain of Tonga, played a fantastic game I thought yesterday against the Springboks, scored a good try again. He also scored a try in their second to last game against Scotland. And I think he's just a mighty man, not just the way he gets around the field for his size, but also his leadership. Ben is a great captain and leader of this Tongan team, and one of the things I liked that Tamuna did yesterday for this Tongan team was how he got the team up for this game against South Africa. They were really hungry for this game, and they put out their best performance I think so far in this year's Rugby World Cup. So Ben Tamuna is my second pick so far in the top 10 of players from this last weekend's round of rugby at the Rugby World Cup. Next up on my list is Dion Forry from South Africa. I thought he had a really good game yesterday against Tonga. He was into everything, he scored a try as well, and I think he did well in the lineouts, which was something that the Springboks were looking for him. So as we know, Dion Forry has come in to replace Malcolm Marx in this hooker position, and he's not a specialist hooker, but he's doing a very good job. You can see that he put a lot of work in last week to get himself ready for this game. So I've included him in my top 10 players from this past weekend's games because I think he had a great game yesterday, and I think he was actually the broadcaster's player of the match in that game. That's not why I've selected him, but I think he did have a really good game. Let me know what you thought of Dion Forry's performance yesterday for the Springboks against Tonga. Okay, next up on my list of the top 10 players from this past weekend at the Rugby World Cup is a player from Portugal. Yes, on a losing team, Samuel Marquez, their number 9, had a fantastic game I thought for Portugal against Australia. He was the instrumental leader of this Portuguese team, and he did a lot of work around the ruck, getting the ball out to his backs, making some good darting runs and also some good strategic kicking. And you could really tell the impact that he was having on this game against Australia for Portugal. So Samuel Marquez, a very good game for Portugal against Australia, and he makes it into my top 10 of players from this past weekend at the Rugby World Cup. Let me know whether you watched the game, and let me know what you thought of Marquez's performance. I thought he was really, really good. Now another player to make the list from that particular game for this weekend's top 10 is Angus Bell from Australia. Yes, I thought Angus Bell, the prop from Australia, had a great game, and he's having an increasing impact in this Australian team, I feel. Right back to the Rugby Championship Series this year, he was playing well in all of the Australian games, and he's just taken it up another level, I feel, in this year's Rugby World Cup. So despite being on a fairly terrible Australian Wallaby team, Angus Bell has been one of the standout players as far as I'm concerned for this Australian team, and he had a really, really good game against Portugal in the loose as well as in the tight play set pieces as well. So Angus Bell makes my list of top 10 players from this weekend's games. Okay, we're halfway through my list of top 10 players from the weekend's games at the Rugby World Cup 2023 in France. And the next player on my list to make my list this weekend is Levani Botia from Fiji. A fantastic player, this guy. He's in everything. He was really instrumental in a lot of the breakdowns, and if you watch the game again between Fiji and Georgia, you'll see that Botia was the reason for a lot of those turnovers in the Fijian breakdowns, which were absolutely fantastic. And of course he was instrumental in setting up that try for Habosi towards the end of the game, which really won it for Fiji. A fantastic pass from the ground, putting Habosi away behind the post for a Fiji try. So Levani Botia makes my list of top 10 players from this week's game. Now the next player on my list comes from the game between Scotland and Romania. Of course it was a landslide victory to Scotland in this game, and the player I've selected from this game was one of the Scottish players who just happened to score 4 tries in that game. Yes, I'm talking about Darcy Graham, and I thought Darcy Graham had a really fantastic game, not only because he scored 4 tries, but if you watch the game closely, he was out there looking for the ball on many occasions. So he was getting involved, getting hungry, and that's what I like to see from wingers in this year's Rugby World Cup, going in there looking for work, looking for opportunities to create, and that's exactly what Darcy Graham did. And he was Johnny on the spot at the right time to end up getting those particular 4 tries. And of course when he got into open spaces, he was off and nobody was going to catch him. So I think his performance has propelled him towards a possible selection from Gregor Townsend in that big game against Ireland coming up next weekend. So it'll be interesting to see whether Darcy Graham is selected for that particular game. But on this occasion, he makes my top 10 list of players from last weekend's round of games. Okay, just 3 more to go on my list of top 10 players from this weekend's game, and the next one is from that same game, and he's actually from the same team, and it's Hamish Watson coming back into the Scottish side and really showing what a talent he is on a rugby field, and what a game he had. I thought he played a fantastic game for Scotland. Yes, it was against a fairly easy side in Romania, but he was busy and he did a lot of good things. And what I liked about Watson's performance was twofold. He was very good in the breakdown, one of the first Scottish forwards to get to the breakdown, set up that clearing to get the ball back out, but he was also good with his leadership skills in this game, and he was keeping the Scotland team motivated and on point and accurate throughout this game, so they didn't fall away. And when you play a team against like Romania and score a big score, it could be quite easy for a team to fall off their adrenaline and their emphasis as the game goes on. But Watson was one of those players you could see was really keeping the boys up to the task at hand, and he wanted them to finish out the 80 minutes. So Hamish Watson makes my list of the top 10 players from last weekend's games. And again, like Darcy Graham, it's going to be interesting to see whether Watson makes that team selection against Ireland coming up next weekend for Scotland. Let me know what you think. Do you think Hamish Watson is going to get in there with a chance to play against Ireland? I'd be interested to know. Drop me a comment. Okay, just 2 players left now in my top 10 from last weekend's games at the Rugby World Cup. And the second to last player that I've selected is Nicolas Sanchez from Argentina. He came back into the Argentinian team for this weekend's game, and he's played over 100 caps for his country and a fantastic player in the day. And I thought he had one of his vintage performances against Chile in this game for Argentina. Sanchez's kicking was really good. He was strategic with his kicks. He was also good with his passing, and he also scored a try, which was really well played, because he got through the gap and he sold another dummy he went on and got the ball over the line. So a very good try from Sanchez. So I thought he had one of his better games for sure, and I think it was a good idea from Michael Cheika sticking him in, because Santiago Carreras, who did come on in this game and replace Sanchez towards the end, I thought Santiago Carreras hasn't been playing to the level that we know that he can. So a great game from Sanchez for Argentina against Chile in the weekend, and he makes the top 10 of my players from the weekend's games. Okay, the last one on my list, and as I said, I'm not ranking these players. You can do that and tell me who you thought was the best player of the weekend, or you may have another choice that doesn't come out on my list. But the number 10 player on my list for this weekend's games was Ardie Savea from New Zealand. I thought Ardie was a fantastic exponent of the game against Italy. He was a leader of his men, and he led by example, as he does in most games for the All Blacks. And he had great general awareness around the play. He was doing a couple of really big runs like he does, opening up the play for his backs to get involved. But he was also very good around the tight, and he did a lot of good clean out work, and he did a lot of good defensive work when Italy did have a couple of opportunities in this game. And of course he made a couple of good breaks. He scored a try. In fact, I think he scored 2 tries. But what more could you want from your leader? So Ardie Savea, he fills out the top 10 for me from players from this past weekend. Okay, there we go. There's my list of the top 10 players that I thought played extremely well across the last weekend of the Rugby World Cup in France. Don't forget to drop me your comments on who you think played really well. They don't have to have played for a winning team in the last weekend's games, but just let me know. I'll be interested to what you think about those as well. Okay, that's it for this video. I'm going to get prepared now to start making some videos as we run into the last weekend of the pool stages in this year's Rugby World Cup. Some exciting games coming up, some games where some teams are going to be knocked out of this year's competition, so it's going to be very, very exciting indeed. So stick around with me here on Inside Rugby. Hit that subscribe button if you can. Give me a bit of a thumbs up and let me know whether or not you're liking my channel. Okay, I'll be back again soon, and until then, stay safe, stay well everybody, and keep enjoying the 2023 Rugby World Cup from France. Until next time, bye for now.